Two claps on Ric Flair. Woo! Two claps on Ric Flair. Woo! Two claps on what my mama would say. Woo! Let's go break it down. Here we go. Hard work on three. 1, 2, 3. Hard work.
We're here today on Chopping It Up with Buck with my man, Marcus Pollard. Pollard came in. I'm going to just tell a quick story before we get started. He came in as an undrafted free agent. I think you worked out in 94.
Yes, sir.
Signed in 95. And when I saw him working out, scouts, I knew some of the scouts. I said, well, I know he didn't play any football, but he's pretty athletic. And usually when things like that happen, guys are coming in to take your place. But the one good thing about Marcus is right away he wanted to learn the game. I taught him what I knew from playing over the years, and it was nice to see him develop. Ended up playing 14 years in the league. So my man Marcus Pollard is on, and we've been trying to do this for a while, so I'm glad I could finally get you on. The other 81, not the real 81. The other 81.
Hey, Buck, I appreciate being on, man. I also, every time I get an opportunity to talk about my start, I can't do it without mentioning you. So I really appreciate the servant leadership that you showed. Not so much about, I know you mentioned about, players coming and take your position, but because of what you did for me, I did for Dallas Clark. Mm-hmm. So my career and Dallas's career both attributed to what you showed me. So, again, I appreciate that.
It's interesting. You didn't play football growing up. You played in high school, but you were mainly a basketball player. You played with Dwayne Broussard, the guy I played high school basketball with. So we go way back. And I remember when Brew knew you were in Indy, we started talking about that. But tell us about the development of – I always tell people basketball got me to the league. It really allowed me to be the player I could. If injuries don't happen, maybe longer. But tell people about what basketball did for your game at the next level.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I often get asked that. Well, basketball helped me transition. If you think about basketball man to man, you have to figure out how to get away from that person. So to me, those skill sets that I use in playing man-to-man defense in basketball, you got to figure out that same scenario, running away from a linebacker or a safety. And then to the same vein, if you're playing a zone defense, how do you find the pockets? How do you find the holes? And to me, just that part of it made my transition smoother. But having to learn what's cover 4, what's cover 3, cover 2, what the linebackers are going to be, play action. There are so many other facets of the game that I had to learn, but that part of the basketball, the athleticism, the finding the spaces, the running away from people and using my athleticism to get open came from playing basketball.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's been a lot of guys, Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, and they all seem to gravitate towards the tight end position. Usually, who's the big guy that played at Seattle, down in Miami?
Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, Jimmy Graham. So you see so many of those guys that have transitioned.
Julius Thomas.
Yeah. And quite honestly, at 6'3" or 6'4", 6'5", I think you are. That's a short guy in the NBA.
Yeah.
You talk about giving the other young players opportunities to learn. I know when I left, I was pissed off. I left a bunch of shoes for you, and it almost looks like somebody else's trash becomes another man's treasure.
Absolutely.
Really good. But I also think you always reminded me of that, and I never forgot it. So you're in a role now where you're working with young guys and you're helping them. They're coming in the league. They got all the money they can have. With the Jaguars, the development player development, and you're really not on the inside with football, but you still are involved every way, shape, or form. How have you been able to help mold some of those young men that you work with on a consistent basis?
Yeah, again, Buck, I have to give you credit. Jason Belzer, Cornelius Bennett, Stephen Grant, Tony McCoy, Tony Bennett. When I start, So when I start dropping names like that, because I was the kind of guy that I was a sponge, and I want to suck up every detail that I could get from you guys because you were older than me. and I wanted to learn. So I take that same approach with the young guys that come in to Jacksonville. Guys who are eager to learn, who want to get better, who want to learn the game. I take a special interest in those guys because to me, those are guys that you really want around your team. Those are the guys you can, make cornerstones for your organization. And for me, I just take those same tools and attributes that I had and try and teach those guys. And so it's an easy transition for me because I just put myself in their shoes and thinking to myself, well, what I want, if I could talk to my rookie self back in 1995, what would I say to myself? And so I take that same approach in trying to educate and help and develop those young guys that way.
When you talk about that, though, if you even go a step further, reading about you and knowing you like I do, you said your mother was a big influence, come from a single family home. Tell us about what your mom and the influence that she had on your life and really your life now with your 4 kids or, her grandkids, your wife.
Yeah.
All of it. How did your mom play such a big role and factor for you?
Well, my mom is my lifeblood to my career. Growing up, single mom, my sister and I, what we call latchkey kids, where you stay, all about it. So you stay at the house, don't let nobody in, and don't have no company. And so we were 12, 13, 14 years old. We were babysitting each other. And my mom was working oftentimes at night and getting home at 12, and we had to fix ourselves something to eat. Make certain that we were safe and kept each other healthy. And so I watched her work sometimes 2 jobs. And then later on in life, she worked 2 jobs and graduated from Alabama State magna cum laude. And so for me to see my mom put that much effort and energy as a non-traditional student at Alabama State, because, my sister and I, once we left for college, my mom went back to college at that point. And so to see her strive and try to make something herself for an opportunity that she probably missed when she was young, having us and being a mom, has been my lifeblood. My mom is everything I am, everything I want to be. She's my focus when I look at my wife and I look at my kids. She is and I tell anybody to this day, my mom was my mom and dad. And so when you have that kind of mama, you want to do everything right. And so I've never want to disappoint my mom, and she's been a huge factor into the man I've become today.
Now, I know you didn't play a lot of football, but what coach played that same role? Was there basketball?
Yeah.
Who was
yeah.
Basketball?
You know what, Buck? That is a great question. I'm not hardly ever am I asked that question. Yeah. So that's why you're good at what you do. But my high school basketball coach, Richard Carter, was my high school basketball coach, and he was also a minister at the time. And he taught us so much about life. We had these 5 Ds that we go over. We had these game plans that we would do. He never cut us any slack. He was a father figure for most of us because most of us didn't have a dad. Mm-hmm. And what was really cool about going to back to coach high school after I retired from ball, I got a chance to work with my old high school basketball coach. Oh, that's good. And so to me, what a full circle. And so I got a chance to pick his brain about the mindset of kids nowadays opposed to when he was coaching us. And so the mindset's a little bit different than the kids nowadays as opposed to when you and I were playing in high school. And so it was really great to have a coach like him. Coach Carter was an amazing role model, father figure, disciplinarian, educator, taught us about life skills. Even back then, he was teaching us life skills. And oftentimes when I go and speak to kids, his 5 Ds, I often talk about in my presentation.
What are the 5 Ds from Richard Carter or Coach
Carter? Dedication, determination, discipline, desire, and defense.
Yeah.
And so he would always
just these, but I didn't have that other one. It said defense.
Yeah, defense. Yeah, basketball, right? And so to me, he just did a really good job of expressing what each one of those meant. And if you want to bigger than basketball, if you want to achieve out of life, these are the things that you need. And oftentimes he talked about the defense is kind of protecting yourself and shielding yourself from things that weren't good for you, like doing drugs or hanging out at night or that kind of stuff. And so that defense kind of played a part into, developing me as well.
So dedication, desire, determination, discipline, and defense.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, got it. Now, when you had to make that transition from basketball to football, what role did he play there? I mean, how was he a sounding board for you as you started looking at that? And who really kind of put that in your mind? Who made you think you could play football at the next level?
Well, I was in college when it happened, and so and in high school, and I remember just like it was yesterday. In high school, I was a pretty good basketball player, but most people thought I should have played football coming out of high school because I was Auburn, Alabama, all the SEC schools, some of the Jacksonville States and those schools, and so I had an opportunity to go play football at a high level, but I enjoyed playing basketball more. And so when it came down to which sport I'd play, I asked Coach Carter because he was my confidant. He was my dude. Hey, Coach, which sport should I choose? He said, I'm not telling you that. I said, what? You my guy. What you mean you're not going to tell me what sport I should play? I'll follow you anywhere. Tell me what I should do. He's like, no, I'm not telling you because I don't want you to come back 10 years from now and say, I wish I never listened to you. You told me to choose the other sport. Yeah. And so to me, it was profound because now I take that same approach when guys, even now, hey, what agent should I use? Or what money guy should I use? I'm not getting in that one. I'll give you, here are a list of guys that I give you.
Yeah.
So you choose and make that determination because I wouldn't want that relationship to go south. And then they say, well, MP was causing you that I ended up with that agent and he was a bad guy. And so I try and stay out of that one. But, in college, my college basketball coach, a guy named Jim Molinari. And Molinari was old school discipline, just a lot like Jim Mora. And and he just had this, no nonsense, no mustache, no facial hair, no earrings, no jewelry, no listening to headphones walking through the airport. And so my first few weeks at Bradley, I was going to leave. Man, I can't take this. I'm out of here. And but thank goodness for a couple of my teammates that, made me stay and, helped me get through it. But it was there that after playing college basketball that I had an opportunity to play in the league. Yeah. And so I went to coach again because I trusted him. I believed him, after 2 years of spending some time with him. Coach, what do you think I should do about this opportunity to go play pro football? Mm-hmm. He told me, man, nobody's ever done that before. You should just get your job, go to work, forget about it. I said, I don't like how that sounds. I was looking for something else. And so it's kind of funny. I took that energy like the water boy. Oh, you told me I can't do it. So that's what I did. I took that same approach. Don't tell me that I can't do it. You rather should have just told me something else because that was the water boy called it my tackling fuel. My fuel was to prove him wrong and that I could do it. And so to me, because he was so honest, he actually propelled my career to where it is to now, today, because he told me I couldn't.
Yeah. And the good thing for your career, you had a chance to play with Peyton Manning. I
like to say Peyton played with me.
Yeah. Well, so what, a lot of people know Peyton is a real cerebral guy. He studies film. He played a lot of pranks too. Being around that organization, I knew if you got Peyton, he was going to get you, or he wouldn't stop. That's what I remember the most about y'all and some of the stuff in the locker room and hanging out sometimes. But what was it about him early on that you knew? Because you had already played a few years when he got there. He was younger. But what was it about him early on that you knew he was going to be a difference maker, be the kind of quarterback that he ended up being?
There are two things that really stand out in my mind when Peyton was a young guy. I'm probably in his rookie year. He probably said both of these. The first one was, Marcus, I'm not here to make friends. I want to be a championship team. I want to be a championship caliber quarterback. He set out to do it, even as a young guy. Peyton, on the grass, he wasn't the most friendly of guys to be around, but he was a leader. But off the grass, he's the absolute best person you ever want to be around. And so he had a great way of pushing, driving, making it tough for us on the grass. But we found a way to get past that and have a great relationship, off the field. But, I remember him saying, I'm not here to make friends. I want to win a championship. And he did that. And I think the second one, when I think about where he evolved to as a quarterback, and I don't know if you remember this guy's name, Derek Holmes.
Yeah.
D. Holmes, a running back.
Yeah.
D. Holmes, a running back. And we were in a huddle one time, and Peyton called the play, and he told D. Holmes, no, you need to do this, right? And D. Holmes was like, no, that's not what my coach said. Peyton said, listen, if I tell you it's Easter, you better hunt eggs. And so at that point, I said, this dude's a real deal. And he was a young guy. And D. Holmes had been in the league, 3 or 4 years, that came from Green Bay and had some success. And so I said, okay, this dude, he's going to be a force to reckon with in time.
Yeah, he was. I mean, it was interesting that team too, because you guys worked hard. And I tell people a lot of times they talk about Marvin Harrison, but I remember Reggie Wayne. Some of the things you would see on the field and practice would be just as impressive as what you'd see game day, or even more so. I mean, you guys got after it, and there was some real good stuff there. I think the longest touchdown in Colts history from a tight end came by you and Peyton. Yep, and you had his first game-winning touchdown. So tell us about that a little bit. That's interesting.
So the game-winning touchdown was against the Jets. Maybe his first or second in the league. I can't remember. We weren't very good, and ironically enough, my entire family was at that game. Got rented a bus and came up from the South, and they was there and played the Jets. And I had the go-ahead touchdown from like the third. It was like third and goal to go, and we was on like the 5, and we ran a little stick nod, out and up. Well, this dude, Otis Smith, 45. I got a little mural picture of this play too. Otis was on me, and so you couldn't go stick nod because I guess they was like, okay, this dude about to go stick nod.
Yeah.
So I whirly bird.
Otis would grab you too. I remember.
Oh, you got to see the picture, Buck. I got to see you the picture. This dude was holding me so bad, right?
Yeah.
And so I did a little whirly bird, and Peyton stayed with me. So by the time I whirly bird out and came back inside, didn't get a chance to go up the field, so I went back inside. And by the time I looked back inside, Peyton hit me with it. And so I had to drag Otis about 5 yards. And you get my hand and the ball just crossed the end zone. Nothing but my arm and the ball crosses the goal line.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool to be a part of that. My family was there. I took that ball and gave it to my mom, but that was Peyton come from behind win that I was a part of. And then years later, we were down in New Orleans, and actually it was the first play of the game. We get the kickoff. We return it, whatever, to the 13-yard line. We called something double, and so I got a middle read, 2 safety split. I go right down the middle on a play action. Linebackers bite by them, catch 87 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Those
are the kind of plays when you lay down at night and you think about, you're like, oh my goodness, because there's nothing but green grass, and if the guy hits you right like Peyton usually would, you're going for 6. Hey, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Chopping It Up with Buck.
Many people are looking for natural alternatives to help ease their aches and pains. Begin stopping the pain with the help of Pain Stopper. Formulated by healthcare providers, Pain Stopper helps alleviate a variety of physical ailments so you can get back to doing what you love. Our products are triple independently lab tested to ensure the highest quality hemp available. Visit PainStopCBD.com for more information. Pain Stopper, because why manage pain when you can stop it?
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
I'm Marcus Pollard, and you're watching Chopping It Up with Buck.
We're back with Marcus Pollard on Chopping It Up with Buck. Hey, man, like I said, it's always good. How'd those shoes work out for you? Did they ever I'm serious, man. Hey, look, I'm going to tell that story. I got released after the Buffalo game, and I wasn't mad at you. We talked, and, I knew Ken Dilger. They had drafted Ken, so they wanted Ken to be the guy. But the thing is, I was upset because I was like, man, the game y'all had me blocking Bryce Pop one-on-one. And I did my job, but 2 times I give up. So I was pissed about that more than anything. But I can remember leaving that locker room, and I had some shoes at home. We all had small contracts then. So I said, Marcus, take all this stuff. I went home and told my wife, I said, I don't want to have anything to do with the Colts. She said, you better look at your contract, because if they start doing well, you'll get paid for that. And y'all had that run to the AFC Championship with Aaron Bailey in the end zone. So always good.
Yeah, man. Those shoes, man. I'm telling you, back then I was a young guy, and didn't have a whole lot. I didn't have a shoe deal. And the fact that, again, here you are looking out for me when you didn't have no vested interest other than just helping me get better. Yeah. And again, Buck, I tell people all the time, Charles Arbuckle is a key component and the guy you see today, especially when it comes to playing football.
Man, well, I appreciate it. I'm glad to see you carried the 81 and wore it well.
I appreciate it.
You know, that part was good. But I got to ask you about this. After your career, when it's all said and done, I know you played at Indy, Detroit, New England, Atlanta, but the Amazing Race, you and Amani, your wife Amani, won the Amazing Race and came in third. Now, I watched that show, too, because I was invested. But why didn't you win it? What happened?
Because me being want to be the captain. So we get back to Atlanta, and you know Atlanta's a home of Delta, and so we get off the plane and we rush to a cab, and they take us to the flight simulator. And here why I said it's on me, because the captain, I'm the dude, I'm the man, I'm supposed to be the captain of this airplane. The wife, she the co-pilot. That's how life's supposed to be, right? I should have did it the other way. If she had landed the plane, so we had to take this flight simulator, and land it, right?
That's right.
I'm afraid of flying. I don't like flying at all. And so had I just stopped being male chauvinist, thinking I'm the hot shot, and just let the wife be the captain, I'd be the co-pilot, we probably would have won the show. And
they tried to call you guys back, but I think you were already with Jacksonville, and it didn't work out that way or something like that, because they bring back people from different years. So you guys, the most amazing thing about that, what was it? I know you traveled all over the world, but what was the experience like?
I mean, it was a priceless experience, but I mean, I couldn't write a check. I couldn't stroke a check for all the things that we experienced on that trip. The people that we met, things we got a chance to see, was phenomenal. And I was asked this question today in one of the interviews, and one of the things that really stood out in my mind was I always wanted to take a trip to Africa, and we went to Malawi, Africa, and just to see the land and the layout and the wild animals, and just the whole deal was just so. I was just in awe of being in Africa, and to be there with my wife and to be doing the show at the same time was quite a priceless experience for me.
Now, you know, what did it do for the relationship? Because it seems like if you spend that much time with your wife, it can go either one or two ways. It seems like you guys have always been close, but how did that draw y'all closer? Yeah.
So that's another interesting question. I often talk about before we were on the show, cast for the show, I'd always just say, you ain't as tough as you think you are, babe. And she swears she hard. I can do whatever you can do. I said, okay. All right. So here, fast forward, we're on the Amazing Race. Not one time did she whine, complain, cry, disappoint me. Not one time. She was so strong that it actually made me see a side of her that I don't know if I'd have got a chance to see had we not done the show. You know, because when adversity strikes, now you really see what you're getting. And so there are times when we were in last place, and you know me, I can be ultra competitive and I want to win. And so she's like, hey, babe, relax. Come on, let's go. Let's win.
Yeah.
Not one time did she complain. She's like, all right, let's go. Let's win. She didn't try to tune me down or nothing. She was all about it.
Well, the beauty of that is your brother-in-law is Braylon Edwards, who's a former NFL player. I think Amani's dad played in the league, or I know he played. Did he play college ball? Mm-hmm. Played in the league too.
He played pro ball. Yeah, he played in Michigan. He played at San Francisco.
She's probably like, look, I got a brother and a dad who are ultra competitive. But it's interesting how that is. Now, you guys have 4 kids, and this time right now, COVID has happened. We've had a lot of things. The George Floyd situation. I know you've been on the front lines with your guys and been out there. But I always have to ask everybody that comes on, how difficult was the conversation with both your sons and your daughters about getting home safely, about interacting with, if they're driving or things happen? How has that conversation gone, even before this, for you and Amani?
Yeah, that's something that hits home right away, because most dads, have this conversation about, sex and, using protection. If you get a girl pregnant, that whole deal. But my first conversation with my kids was, if the police pulled you over, here's what you're supposed to do. And as a father, to have that conversation with a 10, 12, 13-year-old kid who's not even driving yet, just to start preparing them, the more you can say that conversation to them, the better they'll be prepared in it. And so to be where we are now and experiencing George Floyd's untimely death is traumatic, because I'm thinking that could be one of my sons. That could be my daughter, one of my daughters. And so here we are. And what do we do? And so to me, I'm very proud to be working for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We had a peaceful protest last Friday, and it was the first time in pro sports that our entire organization protested together. And so to me, I'm just excited and elated to be part of a guy like Shad Khan, who was a minority owner himself, to understand the discrimination and racism that takes place within the NFL, and then even in business, and to be with the head coach, Doug Marrone, who had this epiphany, this awakening that I need to do more and to listen to his players. And so it's just been really encouraging to be a part of the organization, but at the same time disheartening, because you got to have those kind of conversations with your kids just so they get back home safely.
Did they come to you, or did they just say, hey, we're doing this as a team? Because I think what I found right now is a lot of people reaching out to me, hey, what can I do right now? And Doug Marrone is in charge of a lot of young men who look like us, 70% of your organization or somewhere in that number. How did that come to him to understand, hey, I need to do this and I need to do it soon in order to keep my guys like Leonard Fournette? Because you got some strong personalities, Miles Jack, Philly guy, strong, but I think in a good sense of strong, guys that understand who they are. Yeah.
So it kind of happened fortuitously, because we had a former player, a guy named Peyton Thompson. Well, Peyton Thompson in 2017, when we were going through the Colin Kaepernick kneeling, well, Peyton came out with a quote on his Twitter feed that said, Tom Coughlin and Doug Marrone told us not to kneel. So Doug took offense to it, like, I never said that. And so then he and Peyton got on the phone and had a discussion. And then Peyton's point was, I wanted to do more, but I didn't feel like I had the security of a coaching staff that I wouldn't lose my job, because Peyton was a special teams guy. He was pretty much a special team, so no defense. He was a safety. And so he was a special teams guy, and he felt he wanted to do more, but he didn't feel any security in it, felt like he was going to get cut. So after having that conversation with Peyton, Doug Marrone was like, God dang, I could have done more. And so he had this epiphany based on him being attacked, his character being attacked, that's put us in our organization where we are now. That dead smack in the middle of what's going on. I'm certain there are fans in Jacksonville that are not happy with Coach Marrone or Shad Khan or our team. As you mentioned, somebody like Miles Jack, who's very strong opinionated. He had a sign that wasn't, conducive to what we wanted, but he's entitled to speak his opinion. And so to me, that's what I keep saying to people. So long, these guys have seen nothing but some of this brutality, and all they know based on evidence, that's what they see. And so for them to speak out, you got to give the young Thundercats, what I call them, the latitude to speak their mind. And then at the same time, be able to corral that energy and focus and channel it in the right direction. I think Doug Marrone and Shad Khan and Dave Caldwell have done a phenomenal job of channeling the guys' energy to what's going on in the world.
Now, growing up in Alabama, I grew up in Texas. Were you ever stopped, or have you ever had that experience where you felt like, hey, I have to put my hands up slowly, have everything in position, and get home safely to your mom?
Oh, yeah. I've had it happen several times. And being pulled over, I've actually been pulled over in Jacksonville. And because of some of the curriculum that we put in place for our rookies, I learned something that I didn't know before. So I got pulled over, and police pulled me over. He had his flashlight shining in the car. I put my hands on the steering wheel, and I said, officer, I have to go in my glove box to get my ID and my insurance card. Because sometimes if he thought I was making a sudden move to go in the glove box, he didn't know what I was going for. Or am I going for a weapon? And some guys may have a itchy trigger finger and shot. And so I said, I'm not trying to be a smarty. I just want to let you know I got to go in my glove box to get my insurance card. Is that okay? Yes, sir. But had I not had that training, I would probably could have been shot or dead and not knowing what the officer would have done in that scenario. But I've had several of those where I've gotten pulled over and say, give me your ID. Whose car is this? It's mine. Why can't this be my car? Oh, you one of them. I said, no, I'm just saying this is my car. And so, even as a youth, 13 years old, I was spat at, thrown rocks to, called the N-word. Growing up in Alabama, you just don't know. And to have it happen by some kids that were the same age as me at 13, to have that done, I haven't forgotten it. And so I've shared that story about me being 13 years old and being called the N-word and spat at and thrown rocks at just because I color my skin.
Yeah, I think, Marcus, it's interesting you bring that up and we talk about it because there's so many times that I've had this conversation over the last few weeks in particular. People say, well, you never told me those stories. I said, you never really asked. And it's not, I go looking for it. It's what it is. And we put that on when we leave the house. We know that it exists and we know that it's present. I'm glad to hear your story about your son and your daughters. I think it's interesting too. The more we look at it, Breonna Taylor is another young lady who in Louisville, the awful things happening there. But what I like I saw it in Jacksonville. I've seen it across the country, around the world. People of all different colors and different socioeconomic backgrounds kind of coming together to show that, hey, we have to stop this. This has to stop. And I think that's the part that's been heartening for me to watch, and to watch you guys and the NFL play a big role now, because it was the impetus of with Colin Kaepernick. Now it's coming full circle where, no, it wasn't about a flag. It wasn't about disrespect. It was about the same thing you saw with George Floyd for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, our country right now is in turmoil, and I think it's going to take some time to unearth some of 400 years of oppression or slavery or racism, and it won't be solved overnight. You and I are both from the country, and sometimes they have these burns in fields, so they just burn it all up, kill it all, and it's just straight black. And sometimes I think right now, our country right now, it's just being burned. But I do feel confident that when the rains come, it's going to green up and it's going to be much better. But sometimes we got to get burned where we are now, and our feelings, having these uncomfortable conversations to get to the green pastures that lie ahead.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. We got to take a short break. We'll come back. We're chopping it up with Buck. Marcus Pollard. Thanks.
Many people are looking for natural alternatives to help ease their aches and pains. Begin stopping the pain with the help of Pain Stopper. Formulated by healthcare providers, Pain Stopper helps alleviate a variety of physical ailments so you can get back to doing what you love.
Our products are triple independently lab tested to ensure the highest quality hemp available.
Visit PainStopCBD.com for more information. Pain Stopper, because why manage pain when you can stop it?
How you guys doing? It's Artavis Scott here. The reason why I like Thin Energy is because I need to be at my peak performance no matter what I do. Big sports drink for me, keep it going, keeping myself up. It gets me on top of my game, extra boost that I need to keep it going in the fourth quarter. Working out, definitely a good drink for you to have. All the good nutrition that you need inside of it. Passion fruit, it's my favorite one. It's not just for professional athletes, it's for everyone. And I definitely can say it definitely works in the office or in the weight room, wherever you may be. You can go to thinenergy.com, tell them I sent you, and get you a drink. Thin Energy, the healthy alternative. Drink it, live it. See, if I got something like that, I can just go.
No sugar, no crash. Thin Energy.
Back with Marcus Pollard on Chopping It Up with Buck. All right, Marcus, I got to ask you. The Jaguars look like they're doing a lot of building around the facility. They're talking about trying to really get that stain from the Super Bowl out of their mouth or off of their clothes, so to speak. But what is that going to be like when they finally complete it and get all of that building and everything together out there?
Yeah, it's going to be great. I think Shad Khan is a $7 billion man or something like that he's worth. And so he's putting a lot of money into the city of Jacksonville along the river into the stadium, into the facility. He's sparing no expense when it comes to needs of the players. And so to me, once it's all said and done, I think it's going to be one of those magical places. We already got pools and we got 2 swimming pools, and we got the largest screens in the NFL. And so continue to add on to that with the stuff that he's doing just outside the building, with shopping and residential areas. And it's going to be pretty sweet.
I know you're not on the football side all the time, but there's a lot of guys that have left over the last few years. Jalen Ramsey, the biggest name. What is it going to take in that locker room to get those guys leaders? You know, I know Leonard Fournette has to be a leader on the offensive side, Miles Jack. What have you seen with the young guys now that have stayed with all the different changes that happen in Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think we have a promising future. We have a good young nucleus of players. Gardner Minshew comes to mind right away, who's a young guy who is ultra competitive, ultra smart. His arm and stature and size may not be what you're looking for, but when I tell you the guy can make plays and guys rally around him because he's the kind of guy you want to go to war with. Then you got good running back in Leonard Fournette, really good cast of receivers. You do a good job in the draft this year against some tight ends. And Jay Gruden as an offensive coordinator, I think is going to be a great mix for us. But when you start talking about leadership in our locker room, we have Chris Conley, who's been around for a while, a few years in the league. Miles Jack, as you mentioned already. We have Joe Schobert from Cleveland Browns, who was our starting Mike linebacker. I've heard nothing but wonderful things about. We got DJ Hayden, who's a corner, bringing leadership to the table. So we have Jared Wilson, who's also a safety, that's bringing some leadership to the table. So we have some pieces, in place that can, can help us turn the corner. And I think it'll happen.
DJ Hayden's mom and I went to high school together, so I can
remember
DJ back when he was, really, really young. I saw him years and years ago, and then I see him on TV. I'm like, I know that guy. Wow,
I know that little kid.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. Hey, the one thing about it, you mentioned that Tony Baselli, he and his son were both stricken with COVID-19. How are they doing? And I know he's one of the all-time great Jags, one of the guys in the NFL. He's a USC guy, but I've always admired Tony, just a good guy. How are he and his family doing?
From my last conversation with Tony, they're doing fine. It's probably been a couple of weeks since I talked to him last. But last I heard, Tony and I, we talked. He's doing fantastic. His family's doing great. He's taking it easy. He wants to get back out and play golf. That's his passion. That's actually how he contracted it, playing golf. And so,
oh, man.
Yeah, doing great.
Yeah. So for you guys, team can't meet. They're doing a lot more on Zoom meetings. How's it been for you and your family? Because I know we've started to get back out a little bit, but what has that been like for you and your 4 kids and your wife? How have you guys managed with COVID and having to stay at home?
Yeah, we're managing very well. We went out to our annual player engagement meetings out in Las Vegas, where you get all the player engagement people together, and you kind of just talk shop, best practices. And we came back from there, and COVID just walloped. And so they shut the stadium down, they shut everything down. And so we've spent a bunch of time with the kids, and we've taken full advantage of the time. I know I have. We've planted trees, we planted a garden. We did some painting. We've done some crafts. We've done a lot of stuff. My son built this humongous chicken coop in the backyard and where we live. Somebody ever walk in the back and see this chicken coop, we're going to get kicked out the neighborhood. So it's been a great time for us to bond and hang out and connect. And so we're just taking full advantage of it.
I've seen you a few times on Instagram riding bikes, and you guys are your son's messing with you, talking about pops can't keep. It's been funny to watch.
Yeah.
And talk about
we have a good time.
I can see the competitive nature in the whole family.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess there's been a lot going on. We talked about it earlier. What's been the best thing you've witnessed the last few weeks? I know there's been a lot of bad, and you always got a smile on your face, always seem to look at the glass half full. What's been the best thing you've seen in the last few weeks?
I have to start at home. That's kind of how I was taught. You learn what you're supposed to do at home. Then when you go out in public, you already know what to do. Mm-hmm. And so I have to start with our organization. I'm really happy with Shad Khan's statement that he had, and he so eloquently put it. The time is now. We've been around too long. Things have happened for far too long that we have to do something now. And just to see the direction that our entire organization is taking a mantle, and we're going to try to move things forward as far as social justice, racism, equality, economic balance. And so there are a lot of things that we're, to be honest with you, Buck, here the last 2 weeks, we've spent very little time as an organization doing football. We spent a bunch of our time in meetings together, coming up with strategies and plans to see how we can help the city of Jacksonville, not from a feel-good perspective of winning football games. It's secondary right now. And so we spend a lot of times coming up with plans and strategies and things that guys are passionate about to go out in the community and see if we can make a difference.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, Marcus, we always do this on our show. It's the 2-minute drill. So we try to set guys up for success. I'm trying to give you cover 2 with the, a hint move, seam route, and it's easy. But we got to start on the 80. So it's a bad decision by our returner. He didn't want to do what he should have done, so we got to go 80 yards. But
all right.
I guess the first question I have, what was your superstitions or what was your routine when you played in the NFL?
The superstition for me was tape, both wrists, white tape, and then I write the initials for my grandfather who passed and an uncle who passed with a cross, and listen to Puffy sang about Biggie.
Okay.
You remember that song?
Missing You.
Missing You. And so, so I would play that, and that would be the last thing I listened to before I went in the locker room. Yeah, and I did that for, I don't know, probably 10, 11 years of my career.
What made you start thinking of doing that? How did it come to you?
Well, because I just felt my grandfather, who was probably the closest thing to a father figure for me, he actually got to see me play in one game. Ironically enough, he passed when he was 81. So it just made that special for me. And then like maybe a few months later, my aunt got married and my uncle was on a motorcycle, and they were married a week and he got killed on a motorcycle. So I was like, wow, life going too fast. And so those two people, I wrote their initials on my tape. And so whenever I got I felt like, oh my God, what is going on? I can look at my wrist and remember it's bigger than football. You're bigger than this. And so they just always reminded me to stay focused and stay in the game. That's
good stuff. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Okay. Why?
Because that's what I got. and it's easy for me. I've kind of gotten adapted to the iPhone.
What's the one item you could never live without? You got to have it.
Man, that's a good question.
We'll give you time out so you can think about it. We can come back to it.
All right.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Why is that?
Because I'm an early riser. I'm usually up by 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I enjoy watching the sun come up because now it's cool, it's serene, nobody's out, there's dew on the grass. It's just more just life for me. By the time you get to the end of the day, you aggravated, you may have had a bad day at work, but on the front end of it, everything is perfect. You can't do wrong.
Yeah. Well, man, every quarterback you played would have thrown you some nice balls. You're down to the 20-yard line. We're going to get you in the end zone now. So describe your drip game, or we would call it swag game. What is it? What's your old pop swag game now?
Well, my kids are always on me because they told me I think I'm young. I'm nearing 50, and so because of the crowd I hang with at the stadium, oftentimes, MP, them pants too big. Why you got them big old pants, man? So I've had to change.
They want you to wear skinny jeans. You like
right? They want the skinny jeans, right? And then these pants that's too short on the suit. You can see all the way up the sock leg. I'm like, man, I can't wear that stuff, bro. And so just my wardrobe has shifted because of the environment in which I work.
What's the best piece of advice you received?
Answer this question today. The best piece of advice I've received was start out how you can hold out. My grandfather always told me that. So if you start something, you better finish it, because if you don't, now you make yourself look bad and potentially a liar. So start out how you can hold out, and I take that approach with everything I do.
That's the score. Grandfather gave you great advice. He was on the front end. He was on the back end. We in again. That was that a 90-yard? No, we had to make it shorter. But you had everything on the drive. So touchdown for Pollard. Hey, man, it's been good catching up with you. We have to do it again. The concept of this show, I'm sitting out back one day, and Kevin and I both have been at ESPN, and we were just trying to find ways we could get together with guys during COVID. But our concept now is when we finish this, we're going to come down to Jacksonville and have you and maybe a couple of the players sit down and just kind of have a roundtable and talk through this. I don't know Miles well, but I know he's a UCLA guy. I've admired those young guys playing. But we're trying to just make this show with just sitting around and chopping it up. So
yeah,
we want to have you come back.
We can definitely make that happen. You guys get to Jacksonville, we'll get Doug Marrone in front of the camera. Okay. Oh yeah. I got a little juice down here.
Yeah. One last question since we scored. What got you into this position? I forgot to ask you that earlier.
That's a great question, Bob.
Yeah.
That's a great question. So after retiring from football, I coached high school ball back in my hometown, and I just kind of got frustrated with it, right? Because it was a small school, the kids aren't disciplined, and so I had played at such a high level. I'm like, if you want to coach, because that's what I always told myself I want to do when I get done playing. So I wanted to coach, and so they have the minority internship that they have for minorities, and so I went down to the Senior Bowl, and Gus Bradley had just gotten hired. I don't know if you remember Ryan Robinson. He may not have gotten there when you were there in Indianapolis.
I remember.
Yeah, Ryan. And so Ryan was the PR director, and he and Gus had kind of gotten buddies. And so Ryan said, hey, Gus, this is Marcus Pollard. And so Gus and I kind of talked a little bit. And then 2 weeks later, he said, I know you want to get into coaching, but I got a position I think you'll be phenomenal for. From what I've heard about you, I think I got the perfect position for you. And he told me about player engagement. And ironically enough, the last two stops that I was at in Seattle and Atlanta, I was so tight with the player engagement directors. I was like, this is perfect. I love what they did. And so it just worked out for me. It was a perfect fit, the perfect time for me and my family. So we've been here 9 years now, and it's been phenomenal and trying to make change and help people. And so it's just been great.
I remember that story. We talked in 12 or 11, and I could tell you were getting frustrated with football. You even talked about, hey, maybe I should get into broadcasting.
Yeah.
And I said, it's good, but I said, just stay with it, because I think if you can get back in the league, that's funny. I remember that conversation well. So glad to see you doing it. Hey, man, always a pleasure. Let's do it again soon. Tell the family and everybody I said hello, and we got to get down to Jacksonville to see you guys. I look forward to that.
Definitely, Bud. We got to do it, man. Appreciate you having me on.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Live it, fit energy, lose weight, gain energy.
Hi, I'm Mike Gardner, founder of Thin Energy, the wellness energy that delivers each and every time.
In 6 weeks that I've been taking Thin Energy, I feel fantastic.
I lost 7 pounds in the first week.
You just squeeze it in, you take a shot, and you're done.
Get your drinks, get you hype, get you ready.
I feel great.
Jump on, try Thin Energy.
Drink it, live it.
Many people are looking for natural alternatives to help ease their aches and pains. Begin stopping the pain with the help of Pain Stopper. Formulated by healthcare providers, Pain Stopper helps alleviate a variety of physical ailments so you can get back to doing what you love.
Our products are triple independently lab tested to ensure the highest quality hemp available.
Visit PainStopCBD.com for more information. Pain Stopper, because why manage pain when you can stop it?
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.